Here we go. Good evening. Thank you everyone for coming. That's not here. My name is Richard Wells. Many of you in the room know me. I wear a couple of hats in this town tonight. I'm here as your state representative, and I'm joined by my colleague, Senator Bill Driscoll, and we're also joined by several representatives from MassDOT as well as the MassDOT support team and their consultants that have been working very hard, as you know, on the Route 28 project. So I'll let Bill Driscoll introduce himself, Senator Driscoll introduce himself first, and then I'll let each member of the team introduce himself, and then we'll give you the layout, the structure of how tonight's going to work in this hearing. Great, Senator.
Thank you, Rep. I want to again thank the team from MassDOT and the support team for being here tonight and for also working so well with the town and DPW. You know, with the representative and myself holding this meeting today, inviting some comments and questions from the community. I appreciate your help on this, Rep. Wells, your work on this issue. We're eager to hear from folks. The road diet that's been implemented over the last few months, and now we have a few months of data to look at. So we're eager to see their presentation and present the presentation from MassDOT tonight. This is a section of road that's been studied, I think, twice in the last 6 years in terms of corridor studies and what might be possible. And unfortunately, it took 3 fatalities over the summer to get us to a point where the MassDOT was willing and able to implement this. You know, as folks, if you've lived anywhere in town the last 10 years know, this has been a hot button issue, the traffic, speed, safety on Route 28, Randolph Ave. And that's why it led to us pushing for corridor studies in the past with some available options. And of course, the roundabout project that's, you know, we were always concerned about the downstream effects of what implementing a roundabout would look like. And so this road diet's given, I think, everyone a chance to experience what might be done in terms of dealing with those downstream effects and encouraging safety along the corridor. So I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I know we're live, thanks to Milton Access Television as well, and interested to hear from residents and folks using the road and their experience so far with the road diet. So.
Sure. Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Senator. I think I also saw the town administrator here.
Yeah,
so.
I'm gonna go ahead. I was going to do
sorry.
that. So we've got a couple of
there.
just before they.
I'm Dan Fielding from Government Affairs. That's why I do that. So good to be here tonight. Thank you.
And I'm Frank Welch. I'm the Deputy Director for Major Projects for MassDOT.
I'm Jessica Lisa. I work for the consulting team working with MassDOT.
Hi everyone, Kayla Souza. I work for MassDOT's Chief's Office. I'm the Senior Program Manager for Safety and Intersections, and I've been the project manager for this effort.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Neil Bedrell. I'm the Assistant Administrator for Traffic and Safety at MassDOT.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark Abbott. I work at MassDOT on District 6 and in the traffic section.
Okay, so just before we get started, I also want to, in addition to Town Administrator Nick Milano, the newest member of the Select Board, Mr. John Driscoll, is here, and in the back is Deputy Chief Mark Alba from the Police Department, who, going back to my time as Chief, then Lieutenant Alba was my representative on the Traffic Commission, and he probably has as much institutional knowledge on street operations and traffic operations in this town as anybody does right now. He sat on this for how many years now, Deputy Chief? How many years, Deputy, did you sit? 15? Yeah. So he also grew up off of 28 and right in the corridor of the road pilot. He knows it intimately. And what we're going to do is the team is going to give a presentation when it ends, similar to how we run a select board meeting. We have a sign-up list if you've signed up. People who have signed up will come up to the table here. We'll have the sheet. We'll call you by name, and everyone will have 3 minutes to speak. We'll have you on the timer. We ask everyone to respect everyone else. We know there's a lot to cover, and hopefully we fit everyone in tonight. So with that, I thank you very much. Okay.
Seems like our presentation
You're all good.
is sharing. Hopefully folks from home can let us know if they can't see those. We are happy to be here, so thanks for inviting us to the listening session today. We certainly want to spend most of the time listening and going through your questions, but thought it might be helpful to provide a little bit of an update and maybe some background for people who have not been involved in the public process to date. Really high-level project introduction. Probably if you're here tonight, you know a little bit about what's been going on Randolph Avenue, but we'll still give a little bit of an overview. We'll provide kind of an update on the construction, which is complete, but put a timeline together for when we did what to the road, and share some photos of how it looks from above. We'll recap a little bit of the community engagement we've done to date. We have a project email, we have a website, we've been getting phone calls, getting things through our legislators. So we'll sort of repeat back what we've heard so far, obviously understanding we're going to hear a lot more tonight. We're going to talk about our data collection plan and our ongoing coordination and our next steps for how to evaluate the pilot. Okay, so background and goals. You know, there's been an intersection project on Chickatobit Road for a while. Through the engagement for that project, we heard a lot of ongoing safety concerns about the corridor itself, north of Chickatobit, running through Milton all the way up through Reedsdale. So those are our kind of project limits. It's born out of crash history, which was alluded to in our opening remarks. And as the corridor has been studied, there's been documented high travel speeds and difficulty with access management, so exiting driveways and side streets. The reason we do a pilot is often so that we can kind of proactively and iteratively improve safety on a corridor without waiting for a full reconstruction project to happen. The goals of this particular pilot, which was designed and implemented very quickly, was to pilot a travel lane reduction, and so bringing the corridor from 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, to 1 in each direction with kind of an alternating design in the middle, but generally 2 or 3 lane roadway. And the goals of doing that are to reduce fatalities and serious injuries, speeds, and some of the conflicts, and making it easier for people to get on and off Route 28 from the side streets. So that's why you saw the changes you saw on Randolph Ave, and it was much discussed and studied and deliberated. Our traffic models can only do so much to predict what's going to happen when we remove lanes on a road like this with the cut-through traffic that people have gotten really used to. And we were at a point where the best way to figure out what happened was to do it and study it and evaluate it. So just to mention quickly, we do have someone from MassDOT here who's really plugged into the intersection improvement project. That project is proposing a roundabout at Route 28 at Chickatobit Road. The designer for that project is the same consultant that we have on the road diet, so we're closely coordinating the projects, but they are moving forward independently. And so the roundabout is in the final stages of advertising. We expect to award that contract sometime in winter, and we'll just be coordinating on what exactly it's tying into on Route 28. So just a kind of glimpse of the timeline here. We have done this pretty quick for government speed, I'm told. We really started talking about piloting this road diet in the summer, and so we brought Howard Stein Hudson on board to start designing. We pulled together a couple of alternatives, so slightly different designs that we could do given the constraints of a quick build project where we were just working curb to curb. We came here to this exact building August, I think, 26th to present that to the select board. By mid-September, we had contractors out taking off the top layer of the road. Our work was mostly limited to pavement marking, so took off that top layer, repaved in early October. We put the paint down to change the lane configuration from 4 to 2 or 3. There were some signal equipment changes required, especially where we were putting in our flex posts that were restricting turns to allow for U-turns and to change the timing to try to alleviate the congestion that we generally knew was coming. The flex posts were put in the first or second week of October, and we generally consider the pilot to have been implemented on Saturday, October 12th, or Sunday, I think Saturday, one of those days, the weekend of Indigenous Peoples Day. And then the last thing we'll talk about, Jessica will talk about this in more detail, but we have been making some level of tweaks, especially to the signal timing, And so there was sort of a major change to some of the timing on November 17th. I just want to share some pictures. I know you all likely see this from the ground as you're driving or walking, but here are some pictures of the corridor post-implementation. And so we have one facing north at Chickatobit, where you can see the turn lanes developing at the signal where there are protected lefts, and then sort of a more typical between signals, maybe mid-block cross-section of the alternating two-way left turn lane, and then some of the flex posts that are restricting left turns. And then here's that view from the ground. So as we presented last August, the design alternates between a center two-way left turn lane in areas of dense driveways where there are a lot of needs to turn, and then these flex posts kind of piloting what the corridor would look like if there were a median in areas where there was a high risk for a head-on collision, or where there really wasn't that need to turn on and off Route 28. I'm going to hand things over to Jessica now.
Thanks, Kayla. Yeah, so throughout the course of the pilot, we've been working to try to make sure that we're responsive to folks' concerns and questions. So starting in late September, we went live with a pilot website along with our project email so that folks can get in touch with us with questions, comments, experiences. Since then, we've had over 120 comments that we've received from folks. And here we just summarize from a high level some of the themes to what we've heard. This graph just shows some of the common different themes, with the blue representing someone who's written in for their first comment, and the orange with people who have written in multiple times. And so on the bottom, you can see that a lot of folks have been very supportive to the pilot, with experiences that it's been safer, slower, quieter, easier to use. Going up from there, we've also had a lot of folks write in with concerns about the way that traffic's been flowing since the pilot's been put in place, and sharing their experiences with us about that. We've had some folks that have written in to thank us. Other folks that have written in about safety concerns, whether it's about something related to the flex posts, emergency services. We've had a few different concerns come in to us that we've been looking into and responding to. We've had folks coming in with comments about their experience with the signal timing and suggestions on how to adjust things. Some folks have been commenting on the driveway access, U-turns, delays. Recently, we've heard especially a lot about cut-through traffic concerns from some of the local community in Milton. We've also been hearing about street restrictions, visibility, and then at the very top there are some folks who would like the pilot to be canceled and to focus instead on speed enforcement along the corridor. Throughout these, we were trying to get a sense of the general tone from a macro level, just on the comments that we've been hearing from the public. And that's what's mapped out here. So there's been a pretty good split of some positive tone, negative tone, and then neutral and indifferent. You'll see there's also a section for both, which some people are overall supportive with specific concerns that they voiced, or people who are supportive of something specific, but overall, critical of the pilot. So we've gotten a great mix of feedback from everyone to date. And then here we just have a map, just kind of mapping out where we've received the most comments generally about. And so you can see that, probably not to folks' surprise, a lot of the signals along the corridor have had, the most comments and questions written into us about. And then the neighborhood off of Reedsdale Road, where we've heard a lot of concerns about cut-through traffic there. Throughout the pilot and prior to the pilot, we've been collecting data through the area so that we can understand impacts, how things are operating before, how this pilot has impacted the way things have been operating. So before the pilot started, we got a lot of roadway counts around the area, as well as intersection counts. Acknowledging that we can't count, every intersection, every roadway, we tried to surround the pilot area specifically so that we could understand where shifts are happening and potentially what direction those shifts are coming from, even if we didn't capture, each individual street. And so this data is going to give us volume, speed at the intersections where the purple dots are. We captured turning movement, so how many vehicles are turning during the peak periods of the day. I mentioned that we collected that data before the pilot. We'll be planning to go back out once the pilot settled, probably this spring, to collect that same post data to be able to provide a nice concrete comparison. But we've also been doing observations throughout the pilot. So we've gone out there in October in response to some concerns we heard about U-turn movements. We also went out there to observe all the signal operations and how the timings are working at the signals along Route 28, specifically, after the pilot was put in place, how are those timings looking with the way that traffic actually shifted, not the way that we thought it might shift. And then we went out to do cut-through observation, so along, Clifton, Spafford, Martin, those parallel roads off of Reedsdale. Early November, we performed some cut-through to try to understand how that neighborhood's being impacted by the pilot. And then later in November, after the traffic signal timing changes were made, we performed some corridor travel times to get an idea of how they're looking post-pilot versus pre-pilot. And so for modifications, while this is in the early stages, and we're not looking to change things too drastically, too frequently, because we want things to be able to settle in so that we can observe and measure, we did do the signal timing adjustments on November 17th to try to address some of the concerns that we've been hearing. And I know that MassDOT's been working with the town on some of the turn restrictions time, so the turn restriction was added back at the left turn onto Reed Street during the morning peak period. I mentioned we had done some travel time runs. There's a lot on this table, but essentially we did 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening of just having folks drive the corridor back and forth and measuring the travel times before the pilot was put in place and after the pilot was put in place. And what we have here are the average travel times in each direction in each peak period before the pilot and then after the pilot, from the Chickatobit intersection to the Reedsdale Road intersection along 28. And we show the average times, and then the bottom of the table is the maximum times reported from those travel time runs. And it did show that there has been an increase, especially in kind of what that peak direction of travel during the time of day is. So in the evening, that's the southbound direction of travel, where we did see about a 15-minute increase in travel times post-pilot. And this is not the last time we'll be monitoring the travel times. We've been monitoring it throughout and will continue to do so. Thank you.
So just to wrap this up, we've been doing a lot of ongoing coordination. This team that you're seeing up here meets weekly. We're pulling kind of probe data and monitoring it through data that we have available to see how travel times are changing, talking through tweaks with the district. We've been meeting, of course, with the town of Milton staff, and that's included police and fire. There have been a lot of concerns about what it's going to do to response times. So we've wanted to make sure that we've been pretty hands-on with that coordination, just to make sure we're not creating kind of a different public safety issue. And then there are a couple of other agencies that have kind of stakes in the corridor. So we meet with DCR as needed and have coordinated with them as the owners of Chickatobit Road. And then the MBTA and Brockton Area Transit also run buses along the corridor. And so we've been communicating with those agencies as well to just kind of understand the impacts to them and get their feedback. So next steps, as we've said, we're continuing to monitor pilot operations. We do intend to run this through winter, keeping an eye on how diversion is occurring, if travel patterns are changing, and using that ongoing coordination monitoring to decide when things have settled in enough that we can review all the data and compile all the community feedback. So we'll keep the channels open, including tonight. We're not intending to make any final changes or decisions, significant ones, before that spring timeframe. but we'll continue to coordinate all the results with the town of Milton, the legislators, and the community. So, as always, we have a QR code to our project website, which we've been trying to keep a little more up to date with construction photos. We have the project email, which you'll see the milton-route28@dot.state.ma.us. That's a lot of the comments that Jessica was summarizing today. But if it's preferred, written comments can also be mailed to the address. So we'll keep that up. But I think the point of this meeting today is to open things up, and I think we're ready to do that.
Yeah, are we good? Are we ready for? So, as you know, can you just go back to the last slide?
Yeah.
So I want to thank you all. For the record, the team here did brief the senator and I last week and went through this, wanted to show us what they were bringing here tonight, what they wanted to talk about. Most of you in the room are living it. Pre-pilot and post-pilot, you know the history of this section of road. This is a pretty traumatic change, but when you have 3 fatalities in the span of a few short months, and I believe I was in a meeting here not too long ago, and just someone talked fatalities, and I personally was able to quickly, within 5 minutes, think of 14 that in my public that I had been to, and when they were and where they were, and the fatalities that took place, and I'm sure it was double that. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up to, I have 2 sheets, I have a second sheet. We're going to open it up to questions and answer. I'll keep the time, unless you're going to do, I'm going to keep the time. I'd like to keep this, if we could, to 30, 35 minutes of question and answer. If someone asks you a question previous to you, and instead of asking the same questions twice, you can just let us know when we get that to you. And with your question, just come right up to this table right here. The only other thing that I want to make very clear, because there's a couple of aspects to this. There's MassDOT's responsibility, which is the impacts that have happened on the implementation of the road diet. And then there's also the cut-through and streets that are under the jurisdiction of the town of Milton. One thing I want to give them credit for is they have been meeting regularly with both the DPW and the town, the police department, the fire department, sharing data and information. And I do know that the traffic commission met, was it on the 3rd? And they're making recommendations to the select board. Are they for tomorrow night, or are they for the next meeting? Are they for tomorrow night? Okay. Okay. So, and I believe those will, my guess is, I think I know what one of them is. My guess is that they will be acted upon favorably. So with that, whenever you go and start your
Okay.
sheet, and then I'll
Sounds
hand this
good.
one over to you afterwards.
All right, our first speaker would be John Driscoll with the Select Board.
I'm gonna wait to the end.
Okay, you got it. Tom Nicholas.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Politicians, thank you for organizing this. At MassDOT, it's
Who
not
are
common
they?
that we get
Who
you
are
guys
they?
at one of these meetings. So thank you guys for coming out for this. My name is Tom Nicholas. I grew up in East Milton, so didn't have a ton of experience other than an aunt and uncle living off the road, but they did live on Randolph Ave. And I'm building a house just in that neighborhood called, I think it's on the map, called Scotts Woods, but the Al Thomas side of Randolph Ave. So does impact me and my little kids pretty extensively. Oh, sure, yeah. Sorry about that. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So I think everyone knows, like Milton, Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park. Ever since the Southwest Expressway was not built, Milton has borne the brunt of this traffic cutting through, and people just trying to commute and get to work and home. So overall, the people in my neighborhood, they like the change. I like the change. I've driven to the construction site of our house at all different times of day. And this really does seem to be like your stats set up there, a 4 to 6 p.m. problem Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I'll mention, when I was, we still live in Southie, we're moving this weekend, and a friend of mine happens to run the Collins Joy charity in South Boston, which is commemorates his son who died in an accident on L Street in South Boston in 2018. I asked him if I could tell this story because it mirrors what Milton's going through pretty closely. If you've been on Day Boulevard in South Boston, it used to be 2 lanes. It's now 1 lane, went through a very similar road diet project to what it seems like Randolph Ave is going through now. And I, among other residents, were extremely skeptical, even though my friend lost his son to a traffic fatality where someone hit someone else cutting through, speeding, not paying attention, jumped the curb and killed his son. I still didn't like the change on Day Boulevard because it was an extra 5 or 7 minutes when I was commuting, and it was an extra 5 or 7 minutes on beach days. Most of the neighborhood has come actually to appreciate the change because you can safely cross Day Boulevard. You don't have to worry about people going 40, 50, even 70 miles an hour on Day Boulevard, which did occur before. So overall, just wanted to come here and say, like, yep, I think there's a lot of things that can be done. It would be nice if maybe the 2 lanes at Reedsdale were extended a little further so that the merging of traffic happened not in the intersection, maybe further up toward whether it's Wallaston Golf Course or near where the DPW is, any of those. But overall, on that side of Randolph Ave, people really do like the change and would just like to see some tweaks. And I'll just leave with one question. I'd like to know, in your stats that you presented, that maximum time of 22 minutes, and then now I don't know if it's trending down where the average was 14. Are you noticing people changing behavior and not utilizing Randolph Ave as much as they used to? In chatting with business owners, on Randolph Ave, they seem to like it because their customers aren't concerned about getting hit, and they said that it seems like traffic is trending down and people are changing their behavior, but I'd like to know from your study, is that happening? And thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, to address your question, I don't think we've seen a large trend down yet, but we have been using probe data to look at things from a macro level. So what I presented were our travel times on the ground, so to speak. We had folks driving the corridor themselves, but we've also been looking at probe data that can look at it over a larger period of time, so we're not just relying on like a single day's snapshot. So that's one thing that we are looking for. Since we just made changes to the signal timings, I think we want to give that a little bit of time and see where the travel times fall from there.
Okay. Next up, we have Ryan Villar.
Good evening, Ryan.
Hi, my name's Ryan Villard. I live at 688 Randolph Ave. I'm here today to talk about the flex poles that were put up between Reed Street and Pleasant Street. I've lived in this town my entire life, and all the deadly accidents have happened either near Wallaston Golf Course, Hillside Street, and Chickatobit. And other than the few flex poles that are at Hillside Street, you can still take a left in and out of all of those areas. Where I live, we've had a couple of one-car accidents. One car drove into a house across the street from me, and then there's been some rear endings. But nothing where anyone turning across the road was there an accident. And my question would be, why was the necessary flex poles there and not where all the accidents were? And then my other point was the U-turns that I need to take to get home. At Reed Street, I have a smaller SUV. I barely make the U-turn. My mother-in-law, who lives downstairs, has an F-150. She cannot make the U-turn whatsoever. When we come home, when it is icy, we use the left turn up my driveway because it is a hill to get up to the top of the hill, because if we don't, we'll slide back into the street. And the only thing I just don't understand where the flex poles were necessary where we are, as opposed to where all the accidents were. Now, I understand there's a new building going in across the street. If there's something where you can have them, force them to make a driveway that they exit and enter a certain way, that's for people that they don't even live here yet. So if they're going to pick a place to live, they'll know what they have when they get there. So I guess my question would be where's the statistic that proved that the flex poles were necessary where they were put and not probably where they should have been? So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for the comments and questions. The flex posts were put there, like you said, there had been some single vehicle accidents. So these have typically been roadway departures. There was one head-on. And so roadway departures tends to tell us that folks are losing control either due to a roadway condition or due to speed. And while most of those were off the road, they could also be across the double yellow center line. So the flex posts help deter that. So it does help minimize turning conflicts, like you mentioned. It also helps deter people from crossing over the double yellow center line, which usually results in more serious injury crashes. So that was one factor that led into that. In terms of why it wasn't everywhere, since this was such a quick implementation pilot, we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be removing access somewhere that there wasn't an alternative available. So that led to some of the decision making to make sure that we weren't going to be impacting folks that live along the corridor too severely, which is why you see a mix of the flex posts and the two-way left turn lanes. So it was trying to balance the needs of people who live on the corridor with known safety interventions. Do you want to add anything to
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I just think that said, that was one of the U-turns that we did go out and test,
Yeah.
and it was surprising to us because we run turning templates that sort of simulate the turns, and they're usually quite conservative. But that was completely validated when we went out into the field and experienced it, and so then we looked through like how would the network serve that movement that you're trying to make, and what is that inconvenience? And these are all things that'll go into the evaluation in the spring, where we're considering some changes, like maybe the 3 lanes are staying, but those flex posts we couldn't really do what we needed to do with the signals to ease that inconvenience. Like, this is really helpful feedback that we're gonna take into that evaluation. So just want to validate what you're saying, and thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Next speaker is John Neary.
Getting old. Thank you for being here. A couple of questions. My name is John Neary. I live at 10 Highland Lane in Milton. It's the corner of Highland Lane and Highland Street. And I have a few questions. I don't know about the Rotary, but I travel the Circle of Death, which I call the Columbia Circle, every day. So I'll give it a shot. But I like the end of Chickatobit now that you get the one lane going straight. It's a lot easier. So that's my comment on that. Subsequently, the comment I have is the traffic coming up Clifton Road. All right, there are no sidewalks from my house all the way down to the entire length of Highland Street, Reed Street, Halland. There are no sidewalks. Lots of families, lots of kids, and I didn't realize that you had opened Reed Street to traffic all the time. Is that true? I mean, I know that it was 7 to 9. I think at one point it was restricted. Was that taken away?
It was
or-
a town
Is-
restriction, yeah.
Yeah, is that still on? I mean,
It's
people
still
are
on
allowed to
now.
take the left turn during rush hour now, or?
It's signed to be restricted again. That
Because
was put back.
frankly, that street, it's a curvy street. It really should be a one-way street, but that's the town. That's the town. But, and they speed like crazy on those two streets. And there's lots of children on Clifton Road, on Highland Street. They put a new development in there. So that's a comment. But they're also putting in 2 housing developments up on Route 28 over by, on the other side of Reed Street. I don't know where it is, but.
7-Eleven.
Yeah, and then there's one in behind where the old
Dump road.
the dump was. So how does that affect, if we go with this pilot program, how is that going to affect, becomes permanent? How does it affect like development or whatever? All those traffic studies are out the windows now, or I have no idea. I'm just
Yeah.
asking a question. Also, at the corner of St. Elizabeth's, right now, Milton Hospital uses that as a satellite parking lot. So Route 28, it's Reedsdale Road, I know it's part of Route 28. So when they come out, I think they keep that one side closed on Randolph Ave. But on Reedsdale, people are coming out of Reedsdale and then taking a left up Clifton, or taking up right up Martin, up one of those side streets up there. So it's added an incredible amount of additional traffic. Like I said, a lot of families are living there now. So that's another problem, that residual problem from changing that. But overall, I actually kind of like it, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's a good idea. Let's see, what else did I have here? The St. Elizabeth's. I guess that's about it. I was just wondering about putting, since the police station is on our street, you cannot go down Clifton Road or Buckingham, because the traffic backs up from the corner now beyond, I think, to Buckingham now, maybe even further, you know, and you can't make it. I think there's been several accidents where people take left turns coming out of that, to take a left onto 28 heading towards Milton Center, you know, as opposed to taking a right. You cannot even, because especially around school days, the traffic backs up a lot because everyone's picking up the kids at school.
Taking a left
So there's
onto Route
so when you come
28?
down from Highland Street, come down Clifton or Bucky, there's no box or anything for anybody to get out. So you're taking your life in your hands when you have to cut across two lanes of traffic to take a left. You know, so it's a major safety concern for me. And let's see, that's about it. I mean, I like the project. Like I said, I call it the Circle of Death in South Boston. I did it for 16 years. So the rotary kind of makes me a little nervous, but I like the one lane now that funnels the traffic. And the gentleman who lives down there, maybe you can extend the one lane a little bit further, so maybe to reduce some of the traffic at his end, you know. But no, I'll probably go to the Traffic Commission and talk about one-ways and whatever. But specifically for this project, you have to do, I would rather see Reedsdale, I would rather not have our light there, I'll be honest with you, you know, because they come up Highland Street, they speed, and it gets icy, it's curvy, and I'd rather see the Reed Street light permanently closed or whatever, and just have the barriers all the way through. And that will protect the residents on those streets that don't have a sidewalk. They don't have a sidewalk for the kids to walk on.
Sure.
So I'd rather see Reed Street just closed.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do, just a quick response from the town side, I think that the traffic commission's already met. You may want to watch the select board tomorrow night. Yeah, I don't think you have to comment, you can just watch it. Okay.
Do you want to start one?
We're good. Next speaker is, and forgive me for the pronunciation, Ioannis Temezos.
Hello, I'm here to discuss cut-through traffic issues on my neighborhood. Dear elected officials, master representatives, and fellow Milton citizens. I'm Yanni Tomazos, and I live at 375 Hillside Street. And I'm here to represent my fellow neighbors and members of the Hillside Neighborhood Association, which I'm honored to be its current president. We're a neighborhood adjacent to Route 28, Randolph Avenue, so we have first-hand experience of the scary conditions on that route prior to the pilot program. And it's not surprising during a recent HNA, Hillside Neighborhood Association survey that we run, and it was actually managed by Caitlin Sweeney, who leads our traffic committee. So it's not surprising that out of 61 responders, 53% supported it, whereas 26% of the participants opposed it. Which I believe that, these are data that we shared with you by email a few weeks ago. The most common concern that we recorded through this survey was the cut-through traffic from Boston commuters. And as a result, we decided as a neighborhood association to count the traffic on our street, Hillside Street. So we used a telegram device that was kindly purchased by one of our fellow neighbors. And during the period of October 30th to December 2nd, we counted the average volume of cars, so weekday average volume of cars to be 1173 vehicles, which represents a 21.5% increase since 2017. That was the last count that the town did. The weekend average is lower, it's about 750. Most of the evening commuter drivers are traveling east towards the intersection of Hillside to Randolph. And we plan to also do more count of the traffic on Forest and Halner Streets also, which are the now south streets that commuters use to cut through our neighborhood. I'm not sure if you're familiar with our street, but it's a historic scenic road governed by the Milton's bylaws. Our road has a lot of sections of our road. Our street is bounded by 300-year-old stone walls. The neighborhood has several horse barns, ancient trees, and natural landscape features affecting road conditions, including high slopes and curves in some places. The roads are narrow and there are no sidewalks. Commuters often speed. The speed limit is at 25, and many of us have experienced instances of drivers passing cars that are driving at the 25-mile-per-hour limit, putting other drivers and fellow pedestrians in serious dangers. Personally, I have been shouted by a commuter for driving at the speed limit. It wasn't a nice experience. Most drivers break the speed limit going on average at 35. We also have a lot of kids and children in the neighborhood. During the morning, while kids are waiting for the school buses, they are often put in danger by rushing commuters that don't respect the neighbors. There have been many accidents. For example, at the intersection of Forest and Hillside Streets, not long ago, a horse was killed by an accident at the Chicatawa onto Forest intersection. So we feel it's just a matter of time that an accident might occur in our streets. Ideally, what we would like to see is to see the cut-through traffic
20
being...
seconds.
Yeah, we
20
stop by,
seconds.
we cannot see that. We have a list of ideas here, enforce good driving behavior, adjust the lights, and I've seen you've been running these kind of programs on Randolph. Perhaps work with GPS and wayfinding apps to remove our streets and neighbors through the searches. We'd like to see your data that you're collecting next spring. And also wondering if you'll be able to share with us some information on the roundabout project, as we expect or we think that the two programs will, they're connected with each other. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we can respond to.
Yeah, just one of the things, I know there's been requests on GPS. Unfortunately, because it's a public roadway, they will not make any changes. If the road was under construction and you could only go one direction, or it was closed for construction, the mapping companies will put that in for temporary, but they don't put, because the road's open to public passageway, they unfortunately will not make the changes. We've tried, we've asked. This comes up very frequently in many projects.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to keep it structured here, that's...
We did alert them to
Yeah.
the change so that maybe their kind of travel time, like algorithms and predictions, would catch up to the change, because what's going to happen at the beginning here is, or what's been happening probably, is it's still sending people the route saying that it's going to take an extra 14 minutes and it's taking them 28. And they made that decision because they thought it'd be 14, and maybe they wouldn't have made it if it's 20. And it'll take a little while for that to catch up, which is what we keep talking about with the travel patterns settling and everything catching up. But we tried to alert, we did alert the GPS companies to the changes so that they could both update kind of the markings and the way it looks on their end, and then hoping that maybe their kind of algorithms would acknowledge the change sooner. But we cannot direct them away from the diversion. It's just not something that they'll do. But to touch on the cut through, because we also heard that from the Clifton Road neighborhood, that was the reason that we did so much data collection on these potential cut through routes, is because if we displace the safety problem from Randolph Avenue onto neighborhood roads that are less suited to handle the traffic. They don't have sidewalks. People aren't expecting to see so many cars driving so fast. That's something that we would consider kind of in the con column as we're deciding if this was a success. Just displacing the problem to another set of roads is not a success. So it's helpful to hear that there are some options here. I mean, over time, do people stop doing this? I don't know. Could we make it less inviting for them to cut through? You know, these aren't our roads, but we've been open to working with the town of Milton on some of the things discussed, I think, at the commission. Speed humps, traffic calming. We have our designers here who are happy to see what happens if they become one-ways. So it's sort of, can you make it less inviting for people to go through those neighborhoods? And if you can't, then does this pilot really work with the roadway network? So that's sort of what we're evaluating now, and we'll continue to through the winter.
Okay. Next speaker is Trung May.
So I'm just gonna, I let the last speaker, I've been letting people go over a little, so I want to try and keep this to the 3 minutes. So if everyone can keep their comments, that'd be great.
All right. Hi, my name is Trung Mai. I live on 678 Randolph Ave. It's like 2 houses down from Ben's. I like the plan. It's made Randolph Ave much safer. I feel more comfortable walking down the street. I feel more comfortable seeing pedestrians walk down the street. So that's a part of my feedback. One thing that I don't like are the flex posts between Reed Street and Pleasant Street. And that's the reason is because when I go southbound, it's really difficult to get to my house since I have to cross. So we're requesting that, my wife and I request that there are changes made in that section so that the median can have left turns, much like the section between Reedsdale and Pleasant Street. But otherwise, I'm very happy about the changes. I'm very happy that you guys are trying to do something to make the roads safer. I've been living on Randolph Ave since 2014, and 3 fatalities.
That was this year.
That was just this year. I've been around for much more, and I'm glad that you guys are doing something about it. So thank you.
Thank you. My list?
Yep.
Mr. Joe Henning.
Hi, I'm Phil Johanning, 23 Parkwood Drive. Unlike everybody else, I really don't like the whole situation. And the reason why is because I feel trapped in my neighborhood. If I'm going to Quincy, I use Chickatobit Road, the traffic is backing up. Like in the evening, if I wanted to go and eat dinner in Quincy, it's going to take me a very long time to get from Forest Street all the way through the intersection. If I am in Quincy in the afternoon trying to get home, the traffic backs up on Chickatobit Road past the reservoir. So it's going to take me a long, long, long time. If the light problem, I guess you said you've made changes, but what I notice is that people continue to make a right on from Reedsdale Road onto Randolph Avenue, regardless of the color of the light. So the light is red, they keep turning because they want to get into the queue. And then the traffic backs up and Randolph Avenue traffic can't get through. So if I went to Lower Mills and I'm trying to get home, it takes a very long time for that Randolph Avenue traffic to get through the intersection because people continue to turn from Reedsdale Road onto Randolph Avenue. And then there are cars cutting in from Reed Street, there are cars cutting in from Halland Street, there are cars cutting in from Highland Street, so it backs up the traffic even more. So, I guess my question would be, and the other thing is, if I go down Harlan Street to Unquity Road, the traffic is backed up more than I have ever seen it before this road diet plan, because I think people, instead of using Randolph Avenue, are seeking other ways, and Unquity Road is one of those ways. So if I'm going to Beth Israel Hospital, it's almost impossible to get out of Harlan Street and onto Unquity Road. Everywhere I go, I have incredible trouble getting out of my neighborhood. There are only certain times of the day when I can come and go. And I guess I'd ask, how many of you people actually have experimented with traveling on the roads that I'm talking about? How many of you have actually lived the real life of someone who has lived there? I've lived there for going on 17 years, and I have never experienced this kind of trap. I've never experienced this kind of travel time, and I've never experienced the kind of unsafe driving I see, particularly at the intersection of Reedsdale Road and Randolph Avenue. I see people getting frustrated. Frustration is part of road rage.
Daytime, essentially, because it was causing too many queuing problems. So it's not that the speeds are high on 28 right now. It's more of a congestion issue with the higher volumes until people get used to what's going on out there. So using the signal timings, it's kind of tough to slow down traffic because that's not our real goal. At night, it would be a goal because the less traffic there. So that's why the signals are kind of timed the way they are and spaced the way they are. So
Just go ahead, Sam.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you. One or two in the context of previous corridor studies up until now, there have been questions similar to what we just heard around a signal at Walston Golf Club and Ridgewood Road in Nahatton. And I don't know if it's still the case, but or if you're aware, from my recollection, what we've been told over the years is because of the hill, the sloping hill on 28, it's not possible to put a lighted intersection there because of the possibility of icy weather, people sliding through. So I don't know if that's still the kind of common view of that, or if that's something that in the context of this might get looked at again.
no, that is still an issue of placing a signal there on such a steep
Sightlines.
slope going down, and also with sight lines as well. Obviously, we don't want to put a signal on the bottom of a hill like that where speeds would be high. Like you said, icy conditions would prevent people from stopping at a red light. So that would be one of the cons of trying to implement a signal there besides the traffic volume issue.
And Ridgewood Road is not warranted.
Right,
The side street doesn't have enough volume
Right.
that it would meet the signal warrant. So drivers on 28 would sort of learn to ignore the signal. Like that's somewhat of what happens with unwarranted signals, because they're not expecting a signal there and they don't see it used. Like if the side street is needed to trigger the signal, there's not enough cars on Ridgewood and the Walston driveway to meet that side street threshold where we could legally install a traffic signal.
Some of the public safety input on this from the beginning, from public safety officials. I'm gonna come back. I'm just trying, because there's two that've been waiting the whole time. I'm just trying to, I've got you, I have, on the sign-up sheet that I had taken before, I have 4 people left. 3 people left, actually. Mr. Woodhouse, Pam Azar, and Brian Walsh. And then I have 2 online.
Yeah, I think John
Go ahead
should
and
be
promote
able
him.
to speak,
Yeah,
hopefully.
John's been promoted. He should hopefully be able to unmute and speak.
Oh, and John Driscoll, I know. He went to the back line. I don't have him on that
He likes
list.
to go last.
We're limiting him to 1 minute.
I heard he's new.
Everyone does.
Yeah, sir.
Did you promote? Okay. Mr. Rowe, go ahead. He's there? Mr. Rowe?
Possible that they walked
Can
away.
you hear me now?
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
I can hear you.
gotcha.
Perfect. Yeah, good evening, everyone. I just have a couple of questions. One, can you tell me how many fatalities there have been on Route 28 between Reedsdale Road and Chickatobit Road in the last 10 years? I've heard a lot of stuff, like people have said hundreds. I've lived here for 17 years, and I only know of a horrible, horrible, tragic accident that happened last summer, and 3 people were killed, and then another tragic accident at the corner of Chickatobit Road and Route 28, where there was another fatality. So that's the first question. Can anybody answer that question? And can you send me documentation telling me how many fatalities there have been?
I could look up the statistics. I don't have the
Yeah.
number for 10 years with me currently.
All of our crash information is publicly available online.
Can
It's
you
something
send it
called-
to me? All I want is an answer to the question.
Yeah, we would have to like kind of run the query right now for the past 10 years.
Perfect.
We're happy to do that and
perfect.
supply that to the town or the legislators. But
Or to me? Can you
Or to
provide
you.
it to me?
yeah, there are multiple segments along the corridor that are ranked in the top 5% of crash segments in the state.
I know,
by
but
the
there's been a
region.
lot of people saying that there have been hundreds of fatalities.
I don't know that
No,
anyone said
no one has said hundreds. No one has said hundreds. I could tell you,
Well-
Mr. Rowe, this is Representative Wells, in my time as chief, just in one meeting, and I don't have my select board meeting minutes with me tonight, by name, I had 14 names of fatalities that I was aware of just in my time as chief, never mind my time on the police department.
All I'm asking for is the statistics and how many.
We'll get that
That's all
to
I'm
you.
asking for, and I don't think that's too unreasonable.
We'll get
And the
that.
second question is, what have you done to time how long this road diet, how it has affected the MBTA 240, 240A, 240H, and the Brockton Area Transit number 12. You know, it's not only Milton people that this road diet affects. It affects many, many people, mostly people of color. It increases their commute time to Boston. And so that's the second question.
Yep.
What have you done to document the increased time for commuters on the 240 and the Brockton Area Transit number 12?
Sure. So we met with the Brockton Area Transit on, I think it was just a few weeks ago, November 25th. They actually have a lot of raw data of the route that goes from Brockton to Ashmont, and they're providing that to us. They had actually created a chart that they shared with us where their round trip time, they generally want to be about 2 hours to and from Ashmont or something like that. And in October, there was definitely kind of an impact on transit that has almost returned to normal in November. They had a couple of pain points. Their number one was at Chickatobit, which we expect the roundabout to alleviate. But generally, they were kind of in favor of road diets and pilots like this and willing to work with us and kind of keep the channels open and provide us with their data. We were discussing whether or not we could use their customer service survey to reach out to the communities of Randolph and Brockton that leverage the BAT so that we can get solicit feedback from those communities in addition to Milton. So it's definitely something that we're very aware of and trying to be proactive to get a sense of how it's impacting all the communities, including people who use transit. And we've done similar coordination with the MBTA. Haven't heard anything negative from them.
Well, I am no stranger to the MBTA 240, and I can tell you it takes a long time to get from Ashmont to Hillside Street.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Thank you for your comments, and we will continue to have discussion with the T as well as BAT.
Well, I just want to ask, you know, what are the stats? What does the MBTA say?
So we're gonna see what we can get for you on that. So, thank you. Can you promote Haley Dowling Francisco?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Hi.
Sorry.
My name is Hallie Dowling Francisco. I live at 624 Randolph Ave, across from DPW. I just wanted to say that my wife and I have really appreciated and enjoyed the road diet so far. My wife bikes into Boston to MGH every day, and she has seen a noticeable difference in safety. We feel much safer biking and walking on the road, and have noticed that people are much slower and much more respectful. So we really appreciate the difference. I do have one kind of comment question about the intersection at Reedsdale and Randolph, and specifically the crosswalk and the kind of backup that is happening on that section. So as many people have mentioned, during rush hour, there is like quite a backup in the intersection of Randolph and like kind of onto Reedsdale. And that is really affecting the crosswalk and the ability for people to cross safely. So I'm wondering if there is something that can be done, either restricting that right turn on red or, something so pedestrians can easily cross without kind of fearing for our safety, and potentially addressing that backup at the same time. We often cross that road during rush hour, and we have come to just like wave our hands like crazy to make sure that people are seeing us, and oftentimes we are completely ignored and almost hit. So I think it's a major issue that I would like to kind of hear some potential ideas about, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think you're going to hear that tonight, but we're already aware of that. That's a topic of discussion through this entire pilot program. Okay. Rachel? Is it Rachel? Yes, your question was, oh, you're the best. Thank you. Everyone else can go home. Pamela Azar. And Brian Walsh should be the final question. You signed up? Did you sign up?
I don't.
You have her?
I do not.
What's?
I'm gonna have to leave.
Oh, I got it here. You got. All right, I got another sheet. I do. Yeah. Okay, you are.
I'll join
Okay.
on Zoom. I'm gonna have to leave in just a minute.
Do you
I'll
want to go?
take you. I'll go now then, and then because I'm not going to go back on Zoom on questions.
My name's Amy Morrison. I live at 58 Clifton Road. You've heard from many of us. I would just like to say, I'm not going to go over my whole slide deck from the last meeting. I know the town's been very responsive and receptive to our feedback. However, I would just like to note that there are hundreds and hundreds of people who travel through Milton, and they are no longer able to get on to Randolph Ave. And while many residents are experiencing a very positive impact from that, I would like it just to be noted that this has had a tremendously negative impact. Those cars are on Clifton Road, which is a side street. They travel through all of our neighborhood, off of Reedsdale Ave, to get back onto Randolph. I would like to offer that your data is unfortunately skewed because those cars are no longer entering the road diet. They are on Clifton Road, and they are being sent up our street every night by GPS. I would like to understand better why the app companies cannot be asked to make a change due to this. I know that, Foxborough Stadium has been able to make changes. There are changes that have been made. So I just think where this has become such an unsafe situation in many of the neighborhoods that are around Randolph Ave, that maybe that would just warrant another look. So while, some families are now able to bike and walk, that is wonderful. Our children are not allowed outside after school anymore because it's not safe. We have hundreds of cars driving up our street. They are passing each other when there is traffic, driving up over the sidewalk. Just put yourself in our shoes. I know someone else asked that tonight. It's unsettling, it's unsafe. We have road rage, we have people pulling over, beeping, yelling at us. It's just a terrible, terrible situation in our neighborhood, and I'd just like that noted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. For the record, we've both, in our briefing, I had a meeting with Clifton Road neighbors several weeks ago, and so we did talk about this. And I think that the Traffic Commission did take this up on the 3rd, correct?
They did. We've asked for our own pilot to try something now because we can't sustain this situation any longer.
All right. Thank you.
So
Thanks.
please take that into consideration for the full decision. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oops. Right. Sorry, we're getting near the end here. It's been a long day.
I'll try and go quick. I mostly came out, I'm Pamela Azar. I live at 690 Randolph Ave. We have been in Milton since 2015. We have been directly impacted. We did have a car. Today is the unfortunate anniversary at 6 a.m. on December 8th of 2021. A car crossed the yellow line, sent a car careening, which woke us up when it impacted our retaining wall, which did substantial property damage, damage to my car in the driveway. And I did go outside and provide aid to the driver, who was a nursing assistant trying to go to work. And it was 45 minutes for the jaws of life to get him out of the car. I've called 911 at least 6 times and gone outside to assist for accidents in front of my home. I've seen young girl got T-boned because somebody banged a U-turn in the middle of Randolph Ave. So I have been directly impacted. I do have young daughters that are going to drive in the next 2 years. I'm terrified myself taking a left in and out of my driveway. We have neighbors that have been rear-ended. So I really greatly appreciate these changes. It makes it so much safer. The quality of life is so much better. I'm not afraid to walk. I'm not afraid of my children walking. The barriers in front of the street turning is an inconvenience. One I don't mind. I do think that more work could be done. You've heard it, the U-turn. So I'm stuck. I'm one of those people that is going up Clifton Ave because I have to get home. I am concerned if those streets are made do not enter, I can't get home. I try to make that U-turn at Reed Street, and I can't. I don't feel safe making the U-turn at Reedsdale either. So we are doing kind of ad hoc, like we often bang a U-turn in the opening of the DPW because we can turn in there. And I don't know. I'm like, is this legal? We also take advantage of like the end of Wollaston and Ridgewood because it's wider. It's a better space to make a U-turn. But I hear those neighborhoods are bearing the impact of this. I do appreciate it, and I think that if we can all give it time, I would rather take 10 or 15 minutes added to my commute than people dying. And I have seen a lot of fatalities since we've moved here. So mostly, I just wanted you to know that there are people that really, really appreciate this and feel much safer. I do think that more work can be done. I am concerned about like when the pilot ends. I have directly across the street from me that large development that's being built and behind on Access Road. And if we're trying to make U-turns, I think the volume is going to go up substantially, and I don't know how we accommodate for those, but that's to come. I imagine you're going to have to revisit this. But
Thank you.
thank you. Thanks so much.
Brian Walsh, and then Tom Berry. And then Ian, you're the last one.
I think you have John Driscoll.
Oh, John Driscoll, I forgot. John, why don't you come to the front row so you're in my eyesight so I don't lose it.
Thank you. My name is Brian Walsh, and I've been living at 56 Pleasant Street since 1985. Thinking about it, I realize I'm really getting old. But
No, you're
the point is, I cannot go home. That's the small section of Pleasant Street at start is a one-way. I can't go home unless I'm on the road, Diet Road, okay? And over the years, I've had personally a couple of big concerns. The amount of traffic, out-of-town traffic that uses that road, and then, by the way, most of them come right down my one-way section. It's been quite a story and quite an increase over the years. So the amount of outside traffic coming down, I wondered if could anything be done? I think this has helped, although I'm hearing from neighbors it's probably hurt them. So if we can work on that. The other thing is the safety, the number of fatalities. I was only in my house about 10 years when I left and I started to drive towards Randolph and got up by Chickatobit Road, and there was a car about two cars in front of me that got hit head-on by someone trying to turn in to Chickatobit. Serious accident, spun the car around. There was a young mother with a baby in a car seat. I pulled over quickly, ran up, and I called. It wasn't 911 at the time, but I knew the right number. I called the number for help, as others were doing. And the woman who was injured was pleading with me. She was bleeding and pleading with me to take her baby out of the car, which I did. Felt a little strange about the whole thing, and the police arrived quickly. It got under control. The serious accidents and the safety was a big problem. If you value life, and I think we all should, and I commend the changes because there's no doubt in my mind you've reduced that dramatically. The second thing, personal impact. So when I come down, let's say from East Milton Square, I used to, from my kids from the Cunningham School and the Caldecott School, and to go home, I would take a left at St. Agatha's Church onto Route 28, and then I'd have to get down to the beginning of my street and wait to take a left to go in there. Well, over the years, there's a minimum of 5 times I would always be frantic of watching my rearview mirror, because I know people are not slowing down. It's a minimum of 5 times where I had to gun my car to not be hit, rear-ended. A young lady moved in right across the street from me. She went to school with one of my daughters all 12 years. When she moved in, I warned her about that, and sure enough, she got rear-ended and her car severely damaged. So there may be some inconvenience, but I think the safety improvements are dramatic. I can turn now, I can wait on that turning lane, and I feel significantly safer. I still glance up at my rearview mirror, but they're not roaring up behind me. It's a lane for that use. So there may be other issues, but I'm telling you, I really, and I was apprehensive, I didn't think I would, I really, really like this road diet. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a Tom Berry here? Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Just John.
Good evening. John Driscoll, 718 Randolph Ave. I am totally for the road diet. The only thing is, I got the yellow poles right where I used to be able to take a left or right. It doesn't bother me. I'm used to it now. I got a daughter that's kind of impatient, and I think she's emailed you 100 times. It's just aggravating, you know what I mean? But I'm living with it. And like I said, I got to go up to the DPW, turn around, and head up to where I park up at Pepsi, my business. We're working with it, please. I'm not against it. Everybody in the whole town likes it. They've come to me. It's just that I wish the light at Reed Street could stay red longer, so I have a little more time, because I have to plow my own road, and I don't want to back into traffic. I'm Mr. Magoo at my age driving, you know what I mean? So if it could stay a little red longer going north, it triggers real fast now, and when you first started, it stayed red longer. I'd appreciate that, but everybody feels very safe with it, and I have to give Mr. Wells and the state senator credit. I was against it, and was very outspoken with it, but it's working, and I feel that everybody in town feels it's a safe road. But there's a lot of complications with that right now, with the roads off of Reedsdale Road. I feel for them, but I'm living with it, with all of you, so I know what it's like. And like I said, it is safer. But are you in charge of the construction end of it? How come you didn't raise the castings up up by Thomas's? There's like seven of them that are down like 6 inches.
You're talking to a guy in the business. I'm in trouble now.
Seriously, it's just aggravating. You did a great job, but I wish you raised those castings up level. That's all. That's the only fault I can find with all of it.
High end.
Thank you.
Between Chickatobit and Newcomb Falls. Chickatobit and Eagle Road, right, John? Between
Thomas, right down, yeah, right.
Eager.
Yeah.
Down there, there's like 7 or 8 castings, but it's done, you know.
Ian, last comment. This is it. Is it a story or do you have a question? We'll take the question.
How we doing? Ian Gregorio, 41 Hawthorne Road, West Side. I run the Everything Milton group. It's a great Facebook group. So the majority of people find that it is a very safe road. The improvements are fantastic. I drive down it. I didn't like it at first because it's slower, but I agree with everybody here. It does slow down. It feels safer. My wife feels safer. So highly, just think you guys did a great job with that. I piggyback off of on Edge Hill where it's just going to be where you come into 2 lanes, maybe a little bit extended, so that way it alleviates traffic. And then I think that's about it. I had some more, but
it's okay. You're good.
I think it's a good job. I'm very, very happy with it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Roundabouts, nobody knows how to drive in a roundabout anyway.
It's a different
So we're going
topic
to
for a
deal with that
different
anyway, so I can, but nobody can. So, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment, which is an hour and, you did pretty good, an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes. So, just for me, and then I'll let the senator and the team, I really want to thank the team for how responsive they've been in this from the get-go. I know I'm new in my role in the State House, but we've got multiple things going on here, from the roundabout, which was something, in going back to when I was first in the select board, I would have never imagined, but from a public safety point of view, I understand how that came and why it's necessary. To their credit,
Kind of amazing to see that. I guess that would be the most surprising thing personally I've seen so far in driving that road, that it just would have never been possible pre-diet. And so the safety, the comments that I've heard from lots of people is, yes, the travel times have absolutely increased, and we saw that, I think 10 minutes and 15 minutes represented in the PM commutes in either direction. But I think that the closer you are to this, the more you travel it. Again, anecdotally, people have been very positive on the safety aspects of it, and I think we heard some of that here tonight as well. So certainly complexities that when you turn one dial, something else gets out of whack on the other end. But commend the team for listening to those comments, and hopefully we can address some of them. So thank you.
Thank you.
We put our contact info back up because there were 2 hands that came up on Zoom.
Right.
I don't know when they came up, but as always, if people email us, we try to respond to those really quickly, and we appreciate all the collaboration and the feedback from the community, and look forward to continuing to work together.
I want to make a mention to Mr. Winston Daly, who's in the back room, as well as joined us from the select board here in town. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And thank you everyone for coming out and taking part in this on such a cold night. Thank you to Milton Cable for